Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Just finished up watching that Miami Hurricanes film back again. Wanted to give some takeaways from the week one win over Miami of Ohio, but also kind of wanted to talk about some keys for Miami to beat Texas A&M this Saturday. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Miami Hurricane fans and even Texas A&M fans, if you guys are listening. It's been just such a blast taking deep dives into these programs. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the boys. So again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, again, the best part about doing this, hearing from you guys in the comment section. So if you want to drop your biggest takeaway from that Miami of Ohio game or what you're looking forward to in week 2 against Texas A&M, again, would love to hear it. Appreciate you guys rocking with us. And let's get into it. I want to start with what we saw week 1 that I thought was really impressive. And again, I get Miami of Ohio, it's a MAC team. I will remind you, Miami of Ohio is a very quality team in the MAC. And you look back last year, they gave Kentucky all they could handle. This is a quality team, but my biggest takeaway from the Hurricanes win week 1 is this team just looks different from a personnel standpoint, right? From a physicality, from a speed, from a size standpoint, this team on both sides of the line of scrimmage looked really, really good. On the playmaking side of the ball, at the wide receiver position, much, much improved. And those were the two things that we kind of highlighted in big ways. This offensive line could be really good for Miami, and I thought they certainly looked the part. I mean, Matt Lee, Javion Cohen, those guys were absolute dogs. And I do want to give a shout out to the 6 offensive linemen on this team. Cam McCormick, I was spending a lot of the preseason I need to see Jaleel Skinner. Can't wait. I think that kid has so much juice, and he does have a lot of juice. But Cam McCormick's playing because he is an absolute hammer in the run game. And as much as you brought Shannon Dawson in to maybe spread him out a little bit more, get some more traction throwing the football, don't get it twisted. Mario Cristobal is still the head coach of this team. He still wants to establish that run and be a physical team at the point of attack. These 5 offensive linemen plus Cam McCormick, even when they went heavy and brought in the pancake honcho as well, this is a group that from an offensive line, from a physicality standpoint, different. And then the second thing I want to talk about is the wide receivers really stepped up. And this was probably a position group over the last couple of years that it's just extremely frustrating for Miami. You look back last year, Will Mallory, your leading receiver, is just telling you that you're not getting enough explosive production from the Miami wide receivers. I'll tell you right now, as an NFL draft guy, I added Kobe Young to that notebook really, really quick. And you guys have been saying, credit to Miami fans. Miami fans were always in the comment section hey, keep an eye on Kobe Young. He's going to have a breakout year. And I said, yeah, I heard some buzz about him last year. Kind of was a wait till you see it. We saw it week 1. I mean, the size, the speed, the physicality that he has, it's next level. Very hard to bring down. Xavier Restrepo, I think, is just such a meaningful wide receiver in this offense. The chemistry that he has with Tyler Van Dyke is special. And when you need a big play, 3rd and 4, and you got to move the chains, he's your guy. I thought Jacoby George certainly stepped up. You have to be really happy with what you saw. And now on the defensive side of the ball, it starts with the defensive line. I mean, Nigel Kelly, Jafari Harvey, who we've been sleeping on all offseason. All the talk was Nigel Kelly, Akeem Ezra, Ruben Bain, Jafari Harvey, the redshirt junior, just kind of getting forgotten about. He was absolutely awesome. So if you're looking at this Miami pass rush, I think it's really good. You take a look at the linebacker play. Francisco Marigoa was awesome. Wesley Bissant was awesome. I thought the secondary, Jaden Davis, played a really good game. This team, from a personnel standpoint, looks a lot different. Now, I want to get into what we want to see or some keys to beating Texas A&M this Saturday. This is a Texas A&M team that very similar to Miami in the conversation. Very talented team, has underperformed the last couple of years. I'm high on both these programs. And I actually said I think Texas A&M, if I had to pick a winner right now, I think I would lean Texas A&M. That being said, there are a lot of ways I think Miami can get after Texas A&M. And I want to go to the first thing, and that is establishing the run. Again, Shannon Dawson coming in. Don't forget about this run game. Texas A&M allowed 4.8 yards per carry last year to opposing offenses. That was one of the worst in the country. They struggled to stop the run in a big way. And you look at Miami, they got a stable of backs in the backfield. Henry Parrish looked awesome. True freshman Mark Fletcher looked awesome. Jay Allen looked really good. Even Don Chaney, coming back from 2 season-ending injuries, looked really good. The offensive line is there. my biggest kind of key to the game for Miami is this is a Texas A&M team that I think has gotten better in the trenches. That being said, you take a look back last year, really, really struggled in terms of stopping the run. Can Miami, which looks like to be one of the better rushing attacks that you'll see in the country with how good their running backs are and how good this offensive line is, can they get the run going against Texas A&M? That's a massive question for me, and I think could be a part that really helps Miami win this football game. Now, number two, the quick passing game. And the quick passing game for a multitude of reasons. One, this Texas offensive line, Texas A&M's offensive line, is really, really good. It's really talented. It can get after the quarterback. And I'm not saying I don't trust this Miami Hurricanes offensive line to block them. That being said, you're talking about 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys that eventually will be playing in the NFL for Texas A&M up front. The quick passing game is going to take a little pressure off this offensive line in terms of holding up in pass pro. And quite frankly, I think that's where Tyler Van Dyke is at his best. When he's operating quickly, getting the ball out quickly. Tyler Van Dyke's arm talent is some of the best in the country. Sometimes the processing, when he has to go to 2, 3, 4 reads, that's when he struggles. So if Miami can kind of get the ball out quick, take a little pressure off this offensive line and kind of get Tyler Van Dyke where he's most comfortable operating quickly, I think that's a massive key. And one other thing, test these linebackers for Texas A&M. This Texas A&M defense is loaded, and I've talked with a lot of Texas A&M fans. Defensive line's awesome. Secondary is awesome. I don't know how much you want to trust these wide receivers winning downfield, but what I think you can trust is how good these Miami receivers are after the catch, especially over the middle of the field, where the Texas A&M linebackers probably the worst part of this defense. So if you can get a guy like Xavier Restrepo, kind of in that short intermediate route tree over the middle of the field, testing these linebackers' ability to come up and tackle in space, I really do like that matchup. Another matchup I really like, getting these Miami running backs out of the backfield and matched up with these linebackers, forcing them to tackle in space. That could be another way. Establishing the run and working the quick game, I think would be a really good recipe for Miami on the offensive side of the ball. Now, circling to the defensive side of the ball, this is going to be a really interesting matchup. And again, as high as I am on both these teams, like this Texas A&M defense has some studs. And the first thing I want to look at is this pass rush that we saw on full display against Miami of Ohio. You have a number of guys who can create pressure. Hopefully we see a little bit more of Leonard Taylor. I believe he only played like 20 snaps against Miami of Ohio. I would guess that they are saving him for this game. Said, hey, if you're a little nicked up, just get your feet wet against Miami of Ohio. We need you for Texas A&M. Nigel Lee Kelly, Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain, Jafari Harvey. This is going to be big because if there is a weakness for Texas A&M on the offensive side of the ball, it is probably that offensive line. And so you got a second-year quarterback for Texas A&M who looked awesome and I think is really talented. The best way you can probably get him off his spot, throw him off a little bit, getting some pass rush up front, I think Miami certainly has the guys to do. I really do think this is probably one of the better pass rushing units that you see in the whole entire country. And the last thing is you're going to need this secondary to step up. Because if you look at this Texas A&M team, by far the most talented position group, at least in my opinion, I know they got some good running backs, it's in that secondary. So you're looking at guys like Daryl Porter. You're looking at guys like Jaden Davis, Cam Kitchens, James Williams. Like those guys are going to need to play a hell of a game. Evan Stewart, Noah Thomas, Aeneas Smith. Like it's a really loaded wide receiver room. And if Miami wants to get off the field, I think it's going to come down to Miami's secondary kind of holding up and kind of that having that, I guess what you'd say, complementary defense in terms of we're getting pass rush up front. We're throwing the quarterback off the spot. That being said, we're also complementing that with some really tight coverage downfield. If Miami can do these 4 things, and we'll probably check back in, those are the keys that I think Miami could have to winning this football game. And at the end of the day, like you have your notes here, the biggest thing is not on the paper. You can look at matchups all you want. Both these teams have a ton of talent, a ton of guys who could be All-Americans, could be playing in the NFL in the next 12 months. The question is, which team is going to come and play to their talent level? Because both these teams have been talented. This is nothing new. Now it's you got to come play in a big game and bring your A game because both these teams are going to need to play their best football to win this game. What team does so is kind of the big question mark. Again, I don't have a strong feel for this game. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. This point spread, 4.5 points for Texas A&M. I think maybe a little disrespectful to Miami just because I think they're just as talented maybe as Texas A&M. This is going to be a massive game. Again, if Miami can do these 4 things, I really do like their chances, but this is a Texas A&M team that's coming in with a lot of talent, a lot of star power. Going to be a phenomenal game. Again, would love to hear your guys' big takeaways from that Miami of Ohio game, or what are your keys to beating Texas A&M at home this Saturday? Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.